A lot of us grow up and society dumbs us down. We're told to be quiet, to pay attention.
There's so much societal conditioning about what is truly possible. We go through the school system, we think we can have A, B, and C, and yet A, B, C, D, E, F, G is available to us. What are the things that stop people from manifesting their best life?
They don't think they can have it all.
The reason we don't get what we want is because we don't give ourselves permission to give enough time and attention to those dreams and those desires. If you're really wanting the secrets to manifesting your best life, this is the episode for you.
Welcome to Coaching by the Beach, where we help you materialize the vision you have for your business, your life, your family, and the world. I'm Trevor McGregor, Master Coach.
And I'm Leesa McGregor, international best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Together, we've built an 8-figure empire, and we've broken free from the ordinary to lead lives of extraordinary freedom, impact, and fulfillment. And now we're here to guide you to do the same.
If you've been searching for more success, more wealth, and more freedom, tune in and let's embark on this journey together. Welcome to another episode of Coaching by the Beach. I'm Coach Trevor McGregor here with lovely Leesa McGregor. How are you doing, Leesa?
I'm so good.
I am so blessed and grateful to be with you. And this is going to be an epic show as we're going to talk about how to manifest your vision board life and go into a little bit more of the how rather than the what and the why like we did in the last show, but really pull back the curtain and show the listener and the viewer exactly how we've done it and how we help other couples do it around the world.
So if you're really wanting the secrets to manifesting your best life, this is the episode for you.
And before we go, I'd like to start off by thanking all of you for the messages, all of those DMs, all of the messages, all of the love. Leesa and I read through all of your comments, and we'd love for you to hit that like button and smash it even more as we're committed to bringing you some of the best of the best of the best that will help you live your Coaching by the Beach life. So Leesa, tell us again what you're so excited about for the continuation of our last episode.
Well, today we really want to share the how to manifest your best life. What does it look like? What are the practices, the rituals, the things you really need to be aware of? And how do you stay committed, stay true to the vision, and just realize that anything is truly possible? So we're going to be diving into some more details with you today. We're going to talk about some specific examples of some of our journey and some of our clients' journeys. And really, our intention is to inspire you to think big about what's really possible for your life. Think big about what is that next level? What does that look like for you? And this episode is going to give you a lot of clarity about exactly how to stay committed to the vision that you've always had or the vision that you're in the process of creating. And we're very, very excited. I think what we should do, honey, is talk about some of the problems. You've worked with so many people over the years. What are the things that stop people from manifesting their best life? What are the problems?
Well, I think the very first problem is they don't think they can have it all. Right? They don't think that they could have the career, the finances, the health, the relationships, the travel, or give to charity or give back the way that they really want. And so they become resigned to the fact that this is just as good as it's going to get. And we know that that's not true because we've been doing the work for years, decades, when it comes to personal development and personal growth. And there's a real new way of thinking and behaving that it takes if you want to close that gap from where you are to where you truly want to be. So the very first problem that I want everybody to really check in with is, are you telling yourself a story about why you can't have what you know you're able to go out there and manifest if you really trust the universe?
That reminds me of the story of how this all began for us. It's a really fun story. If you've been listening for a few episodes now, you'll hear the journey that Trevor and I had in terms of where we were in our corporate careers. We finally took the leap of faith and left our careers to start our companies. But back to when we were in the corporate gig, it was an interesting time because we were both at the top of our games. And we're making the money, we had the accolades, we had all those things, but we felt really unfulfilled. And so the universe had a way of presenting something to both of us. Now, we were on opposite sides of the world at that time. And the universe was like, yep, there's definitely more out there for you. And somehow, some way, we discovered something that was happening online. Now, just keep in mind, this was before the coaching industry really was the coaching industry. This was kind of the start of it. And Trevor and I both joined a challenge. It was called the Having It All Challenge. And I think back to that and I go, that was just so fascinating because the title of the coaching program was Having It All. And so we started to really get those wheels in motion. You know, it was like, okay, we had the finances piece covered. We kind of had the relationships piece covered. What else did we really want? And we realized that there was a better life out there for us. And so we joined this coaching program. I was living in Australia at the time. Trevor was living in Canada. And it was a 6-month coaching program. And it was really designed to get us thinking about really where we were at and where we wanted to be, and really starting to challenge those beliefs, those belief systems, those rules, those values that we had, and really step into a new idea of what was possible. And so maybe you want to talk a little bit more, like what inspired you to join the Having It All challenge at that time? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, it was knowing that, as you achieve phenomenal levels of success, right? And that's not done in a straight line. There's a lot of failure that goes into that. You reach what we call a plateau. And some people just kind of hang out in that plateau, whereas other people, they start to re-envision what the next level looks like. And as you and I started to look at it by category, what did we really want for the next level of our wealth? What did we really want for the next level of our health? What about our relationship? What about parenting? What about tithing? What about travel? And you don't just lump everything into a big bucket. You start to look at everything individually because that's the attention it really deserves, right? We started to do that by category, and we started to get crystal clear on the fact that there was either a story or a gap from where we were on that plateau to what that next level was, and we started to unpack it. Not only did we unpack it ourselves, but with our coaches that we were working with and a lot of the other couples in the program, we started to dream big. We started to challenge each other. We started to champion each other. And it really went from really just a next step or a next level goal to something that was absolutely unbelievable. But we also started to believe, if there was a will, there was a way. So again, when you start to undo the beliefs or whatever's holding you back from really seeing yourself go from where you are to where you want to be, that's the first step into conquering the problem, because the problem starts to diminish itself. You start to turn down what we call the saboteur in your mind and turn up the wise sage. And the wise sage is just that wisdom that exists within you. It exists within me. It exists within Leesa. And you've got to really trust the fact that, 80-90% of our thoughts are going to be negative or survival based, and 10% of our thoughts are going to be future paced, or what we really could step into. And you want to start having 11%, 12%, 15%, like the Having It All challenge did for us, because that's where we really birthed a lot, if you think about it back then, to what we're living today.
I love that so much. And actually, that was our original inspiration. The fellow that was running the Having It All challenge, his name was John Assaraf. And for a lot of you who know John Assaraf, he was in the movie The Secret. And he tells the story of how he found himself accidentally buying this house that was the house that was on his vision board. And that was such an inspiring story. And he was so passionate about helping people to achieve the highest level in all areas of their lives. And so I remember when we started on that journey, I remember how much we had to challenge our ways of thinking. I know for myself, it was about upgrading my level of identity. I had to let go of a lot of limiting beliefs. And I've talked about that in previous episodes. We all have this story about not being smart enough, not being good enough, not being this or that. And we put these limitations on ourselves. And so that was kind of the start of the journey, I think, for us to really unlimit our thinking and start to think about, like, well, if we really want this life, then what is preventing us from feeling like we can actually have it?
Yeah.
And that's really where we started to plant those seeds.
It really was. And a lot of that was really becoming worthy of it, right? Because I think a lot of us grow up and society dumbs us down, and we're told to be quiet, to pay attention, to stop daydreaming, to get in line, raise your hand to go to the bathroom, and all of these things where, we feel that that's just the best it's going to be. And it's really getting outside of the matrix and starting to say, all right, if I could be, do, or have anything I really want, what does that look and feel like? And suspend how you're going to get there, because the what and the why come first. And then when you start to bring in the how, you look for inspiration, right? You look for perspiration, because again, as you know, I've never met anyone that just said, I want wealth or health or a great relationship, and it just falls out of the sky. You have to take what, we learned there, which was called intelligent and inspired action. Now, intelligent and inspired action, I just love, because intelligent means smart and inspired means because you don't have to do it, you get to do it. And as we'd sit down and we'd work on our vision board, we'd get clear on the categories that were near and dear to our heart. We started to have dinner parties, and I know that you love having dinner parties and, sharing some of this enthusiasm with other people. And then we'd see them go and create this vision board, and they'd show it to us, and we were blown away at how quickly they started to start manifesting some of the stuff that was on their vision board. And then they'd tell friends, and they'd tell friends, and it sounds cliche, but I'm telling you, there's consciousness in, really what we've determined a tribe can do versus what, we feel we could do by ourselves. And as we did this with more couples and more families and more people in our community, we started to do it in other coaching programs. We started to do it with our clients. We started to do it with our siblings, our parents, all of the people that would even listen to us. And they've gone on to live magnificent lives that perhaps have been affected massively because of this little seed that we planted. How would you speak to that?
This reminds me that sometimes we've got to have the courage. We've got to have the courage to step outside our comfort zone. We've got to have the courage to step outside the box and to really believe in ourselves, to believe that whatever that dream or idea is that's in our heart, we can create that for ourselves. And, I think back to so many limitations and beliefs and things that stopped us, and even just that fear of like what other people are going to think. And I think sometimes that's the curse of the high achiever, is that you go down this path of really wanting to accomplish all of these things and live this magnificent life. And then sometimes, let's just call it for what it is, you find yourself surrounded in people that just aren't in support of that dream or that vision.
Yep.
And they don't see it for you, or they judge you for wanting that. And unfortunately, a lot of the time that's because they can't see it for themselves. And so, that is something we're going to be talking about in another episode coming up here, about how to really unleash your power, how to unleash your creativity, and really think about these things in a way that you feel empowered, not disempowered. But back to that point that, if you want to live your best life, if you want to manifest your best life, you've got to stay true to your own vision. You've got to stay true to what you believe is possible, not what other people believe is possible. Because the reality is there's so much societal conditioning about what is truly possible. We go through the school system, we think we can have A, B, and C, and yet A, B, C, D, E, F, G is available to us. And so it's about spending time sometimes with people that you might even have a bit of a sacred contract with, where you can speak openly about the dreams and desires that are on your heart, and realize that, you've got to have people that are in your court, basically. You've got to have people that are there to support you, whether that's a coach or a mentor or a group of friends. And we feel very blessed because we've reached a point in our lives where, our friendships, our definition of a friend is somebody who is in full support of you, in full support of your dreams and your visions, a person that sees you in your highest light, a person that is there to really cheer you on and really encourage you, give you that encouragement when you need it most. And we all need that encouragement. And I think that goes back to, the point about how to manifest your best life. It's about persistence as well. Some of your dreams and desires will come quickly. Some of those things will happen over a course of time. Now, Trevor and I, we will tell you, it took us decades to get to this place. Now, we're going to help you to collapse time. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you tune in to listen to people like us, because we've been on this journey for a long time. You can have it faster than we did. We had to figure all this out. We started from scratch. But also realize that it takes persistence. It's moving into faith. It's having more faith, giving more power to your faith and than giving power to your fears. It's about giving that faith a chance and really understanding that the universe has a different plan for you as well. You're directing it with your intentions and your goals, but then you also have to let things unfold. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about that as well.
Well, I love that you said that and you used the I word, which is intention. And everything that's ever been created started with an intention, because an intention leads to you having a thought of what it is that you want, and then you really want to get into the feeling. So if the intention leads to a thought and the thought leads to a feeling, what does the feeling do? Well, it allows you to really, get motivated and emoted to go out there and absolutely have it the way you want. So the way I like to think about intention is every single thing that we've created, Leesa, every single thing our clients have created all starts with intention. What do you want? Why do you want it? And when you can really understand that an intention leads to you having more thoughts about it, the thoughts you have about it lead to more feelings. So if your intentions lead to thoughts and thoughts to feelings, what is it that you want to feel? Is it joy? Is it possibility? Is it courage? Is it optimism? As you start to look at the categories of money, time, health, wealth, relationships, tithing, all of the things that are near and dear to our heart. And then once you have that intention, the thought, the feeling, it leads to you literally getting motivated to take action. And that's where you and I had to really back up what we were learning at the Having It All Challenge by taking that intelligent and inspired action. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today, and we wouldn't have inspired thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people, to go out there and create their vision board.
Absolutely. And what we will say with full disclosure, I mean, manifestation is not just about sitting on a royal pillow and meditating all day and just, like Trevor said, thinking it's going to fall into your lap. It does require action. It does require you developing a discipline for yourself. I'll never forget the quote, "Discipline is the highest form of self-love." And when I read that, I thought that is so true, because if you want your best life, you've got to be disciplined enough to create it. You've got to be disciplined enough to have the habits, the routines, the rituals, the things that will keep you focused, because thoughts create things. And so if you tend to the garden of your mind, tend to the garden of your thoughts and your dreams, then you're giving that time and attention. And we all know that energy flows where attention goes.
Right.
And so it's important to realize that we've got to give these ideas, these dreams, these goals time and attention. And I think that was the real game changer for us when we started to get really serious about designing our lives, when we started to get really serious about, okay, we're committed. We're not just interested in having an extraordinary life. We're fully committed. Like, we are all in. And we started going all in by developing those rituals. And so not a day goes by where we don't talk about our vision. We don't talk about it. We don't look at our vision board. We don't, we're always reminding ourselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through our meditations, our gratitude ritual, the things that we talk about with our friends at dinner parties, the things that we're writing down in our journals. These are the ways that you stay focused and committed to your dreams and your visions and your goals. And the other thing you got to realize is that your brain is like a computer. And I've been talking to my son about this recently, is, you've got to program the computer for what you want. It's just like anything. Sometimes we can have bad software programs that are running in the background, creating interference. We're distracted. We've got software bugs. And our goal is to get rid of those software bugs. You got to tune that software. You got to reprogram. And it's about programming the mind for what you want. Maybe we can share a little bit about that. I mean, some of our listeners may know about this, but the reticular activation system is a part of our brain that is really important because it gets us focused on what it is that we want. So let's talk a little bit about that, honey. I know you share that a lot with your clients.
Well, absolutely. And again, it sits in the back of your brain, just above your spinal column, where it's really responsible for what's familiar to you. So if you really think about it, when you start to work on those categories of your health, your wealth, your success, your freedom, your travel, you've got to remember that you want to see pictures and images and mind movies and things out of magazines. And you've got this little thing called the internet now, which allows you to go anywhere you want on this planet. You can Google Earth things. You can go on YouTube. And I'm telling you, that's where the rubber meets the road. Because for Leesa and I, it was almost like planting a seed in fertile soil, right? The minute that we plant the seed for what we want to manifest, I mean, if we came back the next day and said, where's what we want, the universe would laugh at us, because that seed has to sit for a while. It's got to attract the nutrients from the soil, the water from the clouds, the heat from the sun. And then through this little process you learned in grade 3 called photosynthesis, a little root props up through the soil. And only then is it going to be able to express itself as, say, an oak tree, right? And that's where I think a lot of people, Leesa, are running around digging up their seeds. And we don't want you to dig up your seeds. We want you to plant more of them and water them, fertilize them, do whatever you need to, speak to them, talk to them, nurture them, nature them, because that's where you create energy. And it's really, if you think about it, every single thing is energy. Everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency. Everything has a vibration. And it's really getting into the feeling of every single one of your categories and knowing that the universe eventually will take that seed and birth it into whatever it's meant to be.
I love that so much. I mean, this is really the crux of it. Everyone, this is the crux of it. We've got to plant those seeds. We've got to plant seeds for a positive future. We've got to plant seeds that really allow us to manifest these visions and these dreams that we have. And it's really about tending to the garden. You know, I always say the reason we don't get what we want is because we don't give ourselves permission to give enough time and attention to those dreams and those desires. And I will tell you behind the scenes, and this is, you know, Trevor and I are going to be sharing as we get into these podcast episodes. We love spending time on our life design. I know this sounds funny, but the reality is it never ends. It's an evolutionary process. And I will tell you that Trevor and I, and this is a bit of a bold comment, but we don't watch Netflix. We don't spend a lot of time watching shows. We're too busy and interested in creating the show, the
Yes.
show of our lives. And so, you know, I invite everyone listening, like, this is really the secret. The secret is to give yourself enough time to work on your plan, to work on your life plan, to work on these dreams, these goals, these ideas. I mean, we spend time on the weekends looking at magazines. We look at places that we'd like to travel. We do research on these places. We do research on all kinds of things that really give us the clarity on this next level, this next version and vision for what we truly want. And so I think it's very important to tend to that garden, tend to the garden and plant those seeds. And you're planting the seeds not only in sort of the universe, but you're planting the seeds in your own consciousness, in your own brain, so that your brain is now attuned to finding the things that you're looking for. So again, that goes back to the computer program. It's like programming our mind to look for what we want. And I think that the trap that we all fall into is that we get stuck in our current form of reality. We get stuck looking at the same thing. And so we look at the way life is as it is today, and we just keep reinforcing that current vision, that current belief system, the Groundhog Day, the grind, the things that you're frustrated by. It's like we're continue to reinforce that same pattern. And so we never really step out of it because we're just so focused on that thing. And so you've got to be able to interrupt that pattern, don't you, sweetheart? You've got to interrupt the pattern and find a way to step out of it and start to think back again to what that future vision is.
I love it. And yeah, repetition is the mother of skill. And where you'll get tired of it, we embrace it. We are there every evening, every weekend, thinking about what we want, why we want it, who we need to be to go after it. And then we keep tending to the garden. We keep impregnating that reticular activation system. And a lot of people say that's too much work. Well, I'm telling you, your wealth, success, and freedom is on the other side of doing that work. And you also, Leesa, have to watch out, and we talk about this a lot with our clients in our programs, is really the weeds that show up in the garden, right? Because we can be planting seeds and planting seeds and planting seeds and get all fired up about what we're, potentially creating. And then if we forget that weeds are going to start finding their way into the garden, just like they do in real life, that, we've got to pluck those weeds out. And the weeds are really beliefs of why you can't have it. It's going to take a long time. Your sibling says you're crazy. Your coworkers think you're nuts. You know what I'm talking about here, where we eat that for breakfast because we have really started to surround ourselves with other couples and like-minded entrepreneurs, high performers, power couples who know that tending to the garden is a daily task, right? You got to pluck the weeds out. You got to plant more seeds. You got to water. You got to do whatever you need to do. And you also have to remember that there's something called the law of time, also known as the law of gestation, that when you plant a seed in fertile soil, it's not just going to show up immediately. In fact, I can go into example after example that if you planted a carrot seed in fertile soil today, it would take roughly 60 to 70 days before you got a full-grown carrot that you could eat. If you had a night of intimacy with your significant other, your spouse, and you had a beautiful baby, I guarantee it probably took about 9 months from when mama and papa got together until the baby was born. Well, the same thing is true in manifestation. So if you're not tending to the weeds, or you're digging up your seeds, or you're not allowing the law of time or the law of gestation to birth what is important, you're really, really doing yourself a disservice. So we want to remind you that this is also part of that beautiful thing where you can have this dialogue with your significant other, your kids, people that are near and dear to your heart at dinner parties, and really talk about this because it's actually a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun. And some of these weeds that we really need to tend to are things like the weeds of self-doubt, the weeds of fear, the weeds of anxiety. It's never going to happen. It's never going to come true. I can tell you with full conviction, anything that's on your heart, it is going to come to you if you stay the course. If you stay the course and you just continue to reinforce your own self-belief, it's about believing in yourself. It's about trusting yourself. It's about trusting the process of life and staying persistent and committed, doing whatever it takes to stay focused on what it is that you truly want. Because at the end of the day, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, this is your life. This is your life that you're creating. You're not creating this life for anybody else. This life is your life. And so it's important to honor that life, to honor what you're about, to honor your dreams, your vision, your gifts, your skills, your talents, to really think about how you can use your skills, your talents, your vision and gift in service to something, not just for yourself, but for the world, what you really want to create. And the only way that we get to that higher level is if we start to think bigger. And that's something else I think we can talk a little bit about, sweetheart. I know that, some people get frustrated. I know for us, we don't like getting into the small talk. We don't like talking about, we've sort of gotten past that idea of talking about drama and gossip and all those things. I mean, once you kind of get past that and you spend your time thinking about the big stuff, then you sort of avoid all those other things. I know for us, I think the more we started to really tend to that garden of bigger visions, everything else just sort of dropped away. The drama dropped away. The frustrations with other people dropped away because we realized that we had so much more that we wanted to focus on.
And what I do with my clients is, again, a lot of times we like to think of it as a ladder going up with 3 levels. There's the A rung, the B rung, and the C rung going up. And the A rung is really those goals that you set for yourself that are kind of like weenie goals. Like you diminish the probability of you achieving it or who needs to be to go get it or whatever. I like to set at least B-level goals because B-level goals are at least a stretch. It's something you haven't perhaps done before, but perhaps you've seen someone else do it and you know that with the right effort, you could get there yourself. And then, Leesa, we got those C goals, and the C goals are the big, hairy, audacious goals where you really got to dream again. You really got to think about what's possible, but at the highest level. So again, I want you to think about, what's preventing you from getting beyond the A goals. Really start to see and think about how you could manifest some of the B goals. And then I'm telling you that some of those C goals are well within your reach and you got to go after them tooth and nail.
I love that so much. And I will tell you, my secret is I actually really only focus on the C goals. I'm really not interested in the A or B goals anymore because they bore me, actually. I like the idea of thinking so big and so wild about what's really possible in this lifetime. And I encourage all the listeners today, your 3 to Thrive, number 1 question is, what are the 5 things that would allow you to live your best life? Like, what are those 5 things? Like, if you want to talk about your big audacious goal for your health, your big audacious goal for your wealth, your big audacious goal for your relationships, think about those things. Write down 5 things. What would be the 5 things that would allow you to feel like you are living your best life? And the next thing I would say is question number 2 is, what's the story that's preventing you from having what you truly want? What is that story? And if you need to, this is an interesting exercise that I encourage our listeners to think about. Get out your journal and write down on one side of the paper, like put a line in the middle of a piece of paper. On one side, write down, who is it that I am today? What do I think about life? How do I feel? Who am I today? And then on the next side of the paper, you want to start talking about your future self. Like who is the person that I would need to be to live this life that I'm talking about, this vision board life, this dream life? Who is it that I would need to be? Who do I need to show up as? And when you start to look at the contrast between who you are and who you need to be, you start to realize that that's where the gap is. And that's where you're focusing on the growth. That's where you're focusing on creating it and making it happen faster than you ever thought possible, is really stepping into your future self. And so I hope that's inspired you. And sweetheart, I know you've got one final question for our listeners.
Well, yeah, the third of the 3 to Thrive is to really do what we call the rocking chair test, right? And the rocking chair test is really when you get older, when you start to get into your golden years, maybe you can visualize yourself out on the patio with your significant other holding hands in 2 rocking chairs. And I'm telling you, I want you to really ask the question, not only, what is it that we did to live our best vision board life, but also check in with any regrets of what the opportunity cost is if you don't visualize it, you don't feel it, you don't see it, you don't believe you can have it. Because I know that we have talked about our rocking chair test, and hopefully we're going to be here for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 more years or more. And given what's happening in medical science right now, we could live a long, long life. but we want to have the biggest and best rocking chair test of our life when we get to that stage. So with that said, there's your 3 to thrive. Leesa, this has been an absolutely phenomenal show, and I'm going to throw it over to you to wrap.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I wish you peace, love, and palm trees. Thank you for joining us today at Coaching by the Beach. If this episode helps you to see your path to more success, more wealth, freedom, and fulfillment, we'd love your support.
Remember to subscribe on your favorite platform.
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And don't let your journey stop here. Connect with us in our community of like-minded achievers on all social platforms at Coaching by the Beach.
We're excited to continue exploring this path to freedom with you.